Right. Okay, and we will open to public comments for 3 minutes each on agenda topics.
Hello, I'm Cynthia Hicks, Genesee Road, Thetford Township. I know there has been some controversy swirling over me asking to do the clerk's job for $12,000 a year instead of $27,000. I did look into that last night, and Michigan compiled law 41.95 subsection 7 states, salaries cannot be decreased during a term of office after they have been established by the township board, unless the duties of the official are decreased and the official consents to the decrease in writing. Now, by the supervisor hiring Lauren back and making her payroll clerk, accounts payable, accounts receivable clerk, and assistant to the supervisor, that has effectively decreased the duties of the clerk's office substantially, not necessarily with the secretary and the supervisor, but the payroll and accounts receivable and payable. So it is a very doable thing to lower the salary to $12,000, take the remaining $15,000 that would be in the clerk's line item budget and use that to pay for Lauren. So that is one point I wanted to make today. I also want you to be aware that I have been on this board before. I've served on many committees, including the police committee. I've been heavily involved in the police department over the years. I feel like I have the experience to come in and help the township through this really rough situation. I have worked on the qualified voter file. I am certified through the county for elections. I believe I can be quickly trained. One of the previous deputies, Carol Liddell, had been here for at least 30 years, and she sat down with me over a period of days when I first became trustee because I didn't understand the budget. And the budget is a huge part of the clerk's responsibility along with the supervisor. That is right around the corner coming up. It is a very difficult process. I am aware of how it works. Just want to let you know I'm very interested in the job. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Close the public.
I'd like to speak, please. John Herber, 5197 Vienna Road. I just was curious as to what we're going to do and how we're going to pick whoever we're going to have. I would not be in favor of paying anybody any less. We tried that before, and somebody ran for that, and they said they couldn't do that. I wanted to know how they're going to, what kind of criteria we're going to use. I think we should have the most qualified person, even if that's not the person that we like, quote unquote, the most, or is the most likable candidate, because I look at it like this. When I hire other plumbers, I look for the most qualified person if it's a non-union job, and I would like to get whoever I could get that is the most qualified person, period. And I think that we need to get the most qualified person to do this job, and then they can run, and it can be an elected office after that, but we don't need that right now, like the attention on the board. We just need somebody that we think that would have the most qualifications, and I would hope that we can all put aside our political indifferences and get the most qualified person on the board that has the most experience in this kind of area, like running like a major corporation or something like that. So I would like to see that. I just hope that we could get the most qualified person because our tax dollars pay for that. And I think we would want to get the biggest bang for our buck. And that means especially even if we don't really care for that person. Thank you.
So my name is Stephen Green from Scott Road. I rise to support Theo Gantos and his candidacy for this appointment. When you think about the county clerk's position here, it is one of the most integral pieces of what happens at the township offices. And so much weight and responsibility comes with that position. When you think about the people at play here, I just hope you think about the qualifications that I think Theo brings to this position, and that You know, I can speak personally that Theo's helped me in the past with reporting. I recently ran for a state rep's position in Flint, and he helped me with the reporting part of that. He's technically astute for a person that's my senior, not pretty technically astute. Theo knows more than I do, and I think that's another important part that the township clerk has to be an understanding of is the technical aspect of computer equipment and the reporting things that need to happen. When you look at all the people at play, I think there's nobody more deserving or more qualified than you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? We will close the public comments. Start with new business. What I would like to do is have each of the candidates introduce themselves. I believe Cindy's pretty well did that already, so we'll move on to the rest of them. Katie Hicks. If you wanted to say a couple things about yourself or how you've been involved, it's up to you. We all have
Please come to the,
resumes.
please come to the podium.
I like to let everyone see you.
Hi, my name is Katie Hicks, and I handed my resume in. I've lived in Thetford Township my whole life. I've been involved. I've been on several boards for Clio and Millington, and that's about it.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Julie Peck.
Good evening, my name is Julie Tack, and as you know, I have applied for this position. I've also lived in the township for 40 years, without revealing my age too much. I ran for this position 2 years ago. I also interviewed for the position before Leanne for Julie Paulson received it several years ago. Before that, I also ran many years ago for this position. I'm very interested in this. I as well have sat on boards that dealt with budgets. I've managed hundreds of students and parents and things like that, so I'm very interested. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Julie. Debbie Bloodworth.
Hi, I'm Debbie Bloodworth, and I've resided in Thetford Township almost my entire life. I have been a taxpayer in Thetford Township for over 30 years, and I've been a registered voter for over 40 years, and I've only missed one election, and that was 40 years. And I like the position of Township Clerk. I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Debbie. Nicole Moore.
Hi, I'm Nicole Moore. I've lived in the township. Sorry.
Pull it down.
Pull it.
Okay. I'm Nicole Moore. I've lived in the township nearly all my life. I am an educator within the local school district, and I am currently interested in a position as clerk. I did apply for the position a number of years ago. I have been a independent business owner with my husband for over the past 15 years. So I'm aware of budgets and timelines and organization and what needs to be done. And so I guess that's pretty much it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Theo Gunnels.
Good afternoon. I'm Theo Gantos. I'm interested in the clerk appointment. I have many years. I haven't lived here all my life, only about 8 years. I enjoy living in Thetford Township. I like the people here. My wife and I are currently looking for property to purchase and build a homestead here. I know that we've had some problems here, and all my career I've been sort of the go-to guy when nobody else can solve the problem. I did a big project at Eli Lilly for their clinical trials. They had 3 other consultants fail on it, 2 years. And, I came in and we worked with a team, and we actually talked to the users for the first time. So communication with me is key. I need to find out what the issues are and go to fix them. I have a strong background in technology all my life. I've been chief technology officer at companies, worked with very nerdy and difficult people, so got a lot of experience with that. I've also done sales for one of the largest computer companies in the world. So I think I have a wide range of experience, and I think that I'm very versatile in how I can handle problems and work with other people to have teams work, put together very productive teams, and reach out to the public. I'd like to continue some projects that I worked with Supervisor Kerr on, which was to initially get the website here for the township. I'd like to further develop the website and do live streaming of meetings, put all of the minutes and a lot of the other records online. Make it very easy for people who may have, with their homes in other places and they want to still participate in the community. I'd like to see more participation on our boards, like the planning and the zoning boards. So, any questions for me?
No, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gilner helped me with a process that we were gonna take this down to 2 candidates so that we will ask the candidates that are previously picked. I did close the public part. Yeah, this was just a introduction.
Okay. I'm sorry.
The candidates. And Mr. Gilner developed this, or helped me develop this process of, so that it's totally open, and then people will know how each of us vote for whoever we vote for, to narrow it down to 2. We each have sheets, and Mr. Gilner had provided for me, and could you explain how we came up with this?
Sure. Can you hear me? Yeah. Just by way of background, so I spoke with Gary just to get an idea of what to expect tonight in terms of the process. And what he explained to me was, at least what he had in mind, was taking this group of 6 and winnowing it down to 2, and then the board interviewing those 2 and making a selection from those 2. Now, having said that, that's the supervisor's view. And I explained to him there is no set process, there's no one way or right way to do it. If the board is interested in that approach, what I did was put together this form, which I think all of you have seen. And the idea being that each of you could write down your number 1 pick and your number 2 pick. Those forms, you would have to understand, they'd be part of the public record. And if anyone wants to see what they are, they'd be available. So that everyone knows who put down what. And then, for example, you could say that for every number 1 gets 2 points, whoever's listed as number 2, there's 1 point. And then you tally up, and the 2 people with the most points afterwards would be those that survive to the next round. Very much like Baseball Hall of Fame sort of arrangement. Having said that, there is no right way, wrong way. This is just the way that I put together to try to accommodate at least what the supervisor had in mind. So with that, I can answer any questions or help along the way.
Does everyone understand the process?
I just want to confirm, so it's going to be a 3-point, 2-point or 3.1 point, or 2.1 point?
2.1 point.
Okay, yeah, that's all.
And you will underline your name so that your vote goes to the temporary clerk, I guess we could call her, the minutes taker, and once she gets them, she will tally them up and let us know.
Okay.
So, I think that's a good, fair process, and like you said, anyone that wants to see this after the fact, they can tell who voted for who, but it's.
So we don't get to know now, we have to FOIA it to find out?
No, you won't have to FOIA it. It would actually, she can read the names off if that's the way you want to do it. I don't have a problem. It's all got to be in the open. There's no backroom deals here.
Okay, I just wanna know, we'll know tonight then?
Please refrain, John.
Thank you.
So, anyone ready to take their picks, go ahead. You got questions, Tim?
Yes, is there any rules here in regards to if you're picking on the point system, what if you use the same one twice?
I don't believe that's allowable. You use one name each time, but you don't use the same
Well,
name.
that's the rules, I was looking for the words, yeah.
Okay, well, that's kind of standard knowledge, I don't think.
Not necessarily.
Okay. Everyone thinks differently, I guess. One pick per name. You have to put two in the same spot. And once you're done, we'll pass them down to the minute taker.
Mr. Chairman?
All right.
Under our name, there's a 1 and a 2. We just list the top 2, and so basically like our return said, the first, number 1 is our first pick.
Right.
And our second is our second choice.
Right. The first one gets 2 points, the second one gets 1.
I see. Okay.
She has a microphone on there.
She don't, but Eric can pull.
I'm loud.
Okay.
I'm loud.
Okay. Just let me know when you're ready. You sound like Stan.
We go 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
3 points, 2
Yeah,
points.
Plan B and C, yeah.
Stick it in my little tally up pile. All right, before I state these off, what happens if there's a second place tie? For instance, would we take the top 3? Would we take just the one who has the most? How do you want to go with that?
We're going to interview 2, and if there is a tie for second, then we'll be
3.
3.
Okay. All right, so I'll just read them off in any order of the way I wrote them down. I have Cindy with 4, Julie with 4, Katie with 1, Nicole with 5, and Theo with 1.
Could you, just for a point of clarification, so you received...
Oh, you know what? Wait a second. Sorry, I have one more. My bad.
Oh, better count 'em.
Do you want to verify for me? Just give a second with that. I'm just gonna have him check my work, just so.
It should add up to 12. Right? 3, 2 times 6, 18.
Names.
You did.
Most people just wrote the name.
Yeah, we did it pretty simple.
I just had to add the last one. Good.
Double check my homework.
I know it throws you off. Some people wrote the name, some people just wrote
The number.
circle next to the person.
Sure.
I think that's right as I'm looking.
Do it down here, put all that check mark there. Just because I don't want to make a mistake.
Yeah, just do the one like you're doing one
Yeah,
number.
just like you did.
Yep,
Once you did,
yep, just start over. And
You want me to read them to you? Will that be easier? Let's do
Yeah.
that. Okay, Nicole, 2.
Nicole got,
Cindy, 1.
okay, so Nicole got, I'm just gonna put a 1 slash.
Just do 2. Just do 2 tallies.
Okay.
Nicole got 2 tallies.
Okay.
Cindy got 1 tally.
yeah, that'll be easier.
1 tally for Cindy. 2 tallies for Cindy. 1 tally for Nicole. 2 tallies for Nicole. 1 tally for Cindy. 2 tallies for Cindy. 1 tally for Katie. Let's see, Julie, 2 tallies. Katie, 1 tally. Julie, 2 tallies. Theo, 1 tally. So I was right?
All right, if you're confirmed, reread it.
Okay.
It is confirmed.
It is confirmed. Okay. Okay, so restate that. Cindy is 6 and Nicole is 5. So those are the top 2.
I'm sorry, just so that we're all clear, you should have received, first of all, 6 slips of paper. And each are clearly identified as to which board member chose who, correct?
6. 2. Yep.
Okay,
Everyone mark their name, yep.
okay, those will be made part of the record.
I'll retain them,
attached to the minutes, so,
Read 'em.
Just a
You're-
second, she
you're-
said 6 and 5, that 6,
you're
1,
saying-
4, 5, and 1 is 17,
Pardon
it's
me?
not 18.
No. Katie was 2.
Thank you.
Yep, that was the last vote that I didn't read off.
Thanks, Lauren.
You're welcome.
so as I understand it, Cindy Hicks has 6,
Correct.
Katie Hicks has,
2. Julie has 4. Nicole has 5. Theo has 1. And Debbie has 0.
so,
Total 18.
well, Stan tells me that, what I'm gonna ask is after he does this, we're gonna read them in, so everybody
Okay.
knows and they can clarify, and there's no doubt about it.
But I just thought you put Cindy and Kate. But see, everyone else just did their first choice and their second choice. Okay, so you're the only one who got the number.
What, when they make a mistake?
He said as his first choice was number 3 instead of just doing, see, I just went like this. We went like, you did the same thing I did.
Yeah, his first pick was number 3.
It's still number right there.
No, I mean, Julie Tack, did she get a ticket? Did she get a?
It's still the same thing.
So 3, Julie 2. Hang on, I'm working on it. This one, so that's who you did, right? Those 2 there. Those are your votes, correct? Your top was Julie and your second was Ben. Yes? Okay.
But outright did it.
You can if you want, just to validate it, so it matches. Okay. Now you're good? I already added that first.
okay.
I just wanted to write, so I just.
Okay, so it's, alright, so,
Julie was 6.
I see.
All right.
So.
Which remains a vote for us.
Tack is 2.
Is the total?
Cindy gets 2. Nicole gets 1. If you want to draw a line, do it over here again. Or there you go, that's fine. You want to do it again? Just start over.
So I'll just do the first one, Julie and Debbie. So 1, 2,
Yeah.
1. Okay.
Then Nicole gets 2. Cindy gets 1. Julie gets 2. Katie gets 1. Nicole gets 2. Cindy gets 1. Julie gets 2. Theo gets 1.
Matches.
Comes out the same?
Now
Yeah, we checked our work like 3 times,
All right,
so.
tell them numbers again.
All right.
Go ahead and read off as the votes.
Do you want me to just go in order, not in any pertaining order? Okay. Cindy 4, Julie 6, Debbie 1, Katie 1, Nicole 5, Theo 1.
Very difficult to hear back here.
Okay.
The first time you had him off, Cindy was 6.
I know. There was confusion the first time with trustee Picnic kind of put numbers instead of the names, like everyone else did the actual names. So that's what caused the mishap at the beginning. So these are the results. Trustee Gunnels and I just did it 3 or 4 times to make sure. Cindy 4, Julie 6, Debbie 1, Katie 1, Nicole 5, and Theo 1.
Wow, those are way different.
Mm-hmm.
Could you read each selection?
Each
Yes.
trust, yeah, sure.
Each board member's name.
Do you want name of trustees as well?
Yes.
Name of
Okay.
trustee and number 1, number 2, 3.
Okay, and this, I'll just read them slow, so if you guys are doing your own math. Trustee Gunnels, his first pick was Julie Tack, and his second pick was Theo Gantos. At, her first is Nicole Moore, her second is Cindy Hicks. Supervisor Stevens, his first choice was Julie Tack, and his second was Katie Hicks. Trustee Stanky, her first choice was Nicole Moore, her second was Cindy Hicks. Trustee Condon, first choice Cindy Hicks, second Nicole Moore. Stan Picnic is, his first choice was Julie Tack. His second choice was Debbie Bloodworth. And that's it.
Thank you. Nora?
Did anyone else do the math back there? Yeah, we're good? Okay.
Thanks, Gary.
No, that wasn't.
Now it's Julie.
Yes.
We are going to take a short recess. I guess what it will be is the interview. Questions will be to Julie and Nicole. And the others can stay if you'd like to, or you don't have to be here. But we're going to take a short recess. To each board member will write a couple questions down, and they will come back and see what the candidates have for answers.
After there was the confusion, obviously, that played out here in front of everyone, after the tallies were announced the first time, Stan leaned over and said, "That can't be right. Debbie Bloodworth, they announced 0, and I voted for her." And he said he voted by number, not by name. And the issue with that is, I'm not sure all of you are working off the same, numerical list, that Cindy Hicks is 1, Katie Hicks is 2, et cetera, down the line. So, pointed out that it needed to be by name, number 1. Number 2, he went back and made that change by adding the names as opposed to the numbers. So that's how it changes things, the final tally. So anyway.
Thank you, Mike.
If I may.
Go ahead, Stan.
Yeah, if you want to see the document, you'll see that the numbers are there with the names that correspond to it, so there's nothing, definitely anything different. And I'm sure Eric and Laura will verify that.
Yes.
Okay. We will start the interview process.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to, for clarity purposes, I just want to make sure that I'm looking at Stan's thing, and everyone's welcome to look at it too, but he clearly did not change his vote. He clearly did not change it. He had, it's the same piece of paper. All he did was write the name of the person after the number, and originally he'd only written the number, and the number is still on there. He kind of written over top of it the name, so you can all see that he did not change his actual vote. Thank you.
How's the vote changed then?
He did not change.
Please refrain from asking questions. Okay, we will start the interview process, and I'll remind you that you have to ask each candidate the same question, and if everyone's ready with their questions, this will move forward. Is everyone ready? Eric? Are you ready for the questions?
Sure.
Okay. Is it proper to bring both candidates to the microphone so they can each speak after each other, or?
Again, there's no right way or wrong way. I would recommend that you bring them up individually as opposed to together.
Okay. Okay. We'll start with Nicole. Rachel, do you have a question for Nicole?
Well, Nicole, I talked to you earlier today on the phone, so I think I got a lot of my questions out. But I would like to highlight today on your application, just so that everyone is aware, you currently do work with Douglas, the intermediate school district with the special education. And as we talked earlier, that it was a pretty demanding job being a clerk. What are your future plans for that?
Actually, before this even became announced that there would be a clerk position, I was seeking retirement within my employer. I've been there for a number of years as an educator, and so I've always held a job since I was 16 and knew I was ready for a job change. And so I decided, like I said prior to this, of retiring but still wanted to be in the workforce. So I was ready to make a job change.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and that would be Julie, the same question.
I don't know if that would really pertain to her,
No.
because she's not currently employed, is she?
No.
Sorry, Julie.
That's okay.
Mr. Supervisor,
You have to ask them both the same question.
Mr. Supervisor,
John?
I just wanted to recommend we go with Nicole through the whole board, and then,
Okay.
so that way they each have time to mic and they don't have to fight.
Okay, that's fine.
So I get to ask you another question. As far as being a team player, obviously that's what our township needs, is team players in it. How are you with making your own opinion, disagreeing with others, and not feeling backlash, or feeling like anyone's going to retaliate in any way? Are you comfortable with people disagreeing with you?
Yes, I think everybody has an opinion on how they feel about certain situations, but I also feel it's important that people express their opinions and maybe try to collaborate as a group to come up with why this might work and why this might not work, and have it be a group discussion also, versus a opinion here, that kind of thing. But I'm fine with everybody having a different opinion. We wouldn't be normal individuals if we all didn't see things different ways.
Thank you. Eric?
Hi, Nicole. I'm probably the one on the board here that this is a self-described democratic constitutionalist. So really, I really only care about what your opinions are of the Constitution.
I think the Constitution is a very sacred thing and should be upheld to the fullest accountability that it has.
Okay. You know, there's a lot of controversy these days over our constitutional rights. Definitely one of them today, I think, is the Second Amendment. It's definitely one of the most talked about discussions in the recent years. Do you believe in banning guns?
I think that they have their place and their purpose. So I'm not quite sure what that has to do with the court position, but
It will tell me a lot about where your values are.
it will tell you, okay, I guess, like I said, they have a place and they have a purpose, and they also have an educational system that people can obtain to find out information on how to properly use a gun, what requirements are to own a gun, how they are properly handled, where they should be secured, all of that. So as to your question, yeah, they're people have rights, but there are rules that go with those rights.
Certainly. That's really all I have.
Okay.
Dan?
Yeah, one of the things that I really look for is that every resident here is treated equally. And that, you know, it's always been a problem. And I'm not asking questions, I'm basically making a statement. And how long have you lived in Thetford Township?
I moved to Thetford Township when I was 5.
Oh.
So been here the majority of my life.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Was that both your questions, Dan? Did you have 2 questions for it?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. John?
Okay. Knowing you don't have a lot of clerk experience, why do you feel you'd be the best equipped candidate to do the job of clerk?
I believe, like I said prior, that my husband and I have owned a business for the last 15 years. I have worked with him to build that business from the ground up. I have a lot of clerical experience. I have a lot of organizational. I have a lot of bookkeeping, record keeping, that kind of stuff. And also with the job I have now, I have a lot of patience. I'm able to tolerate a lot of situations. I deal with a very challenging population, so kind of makes me a well-rounded individual.
I just have one more. After you learn the clerk, would you be able to do your job as you believe it should be done, even with pressure from residents or board members to do it their way?
Yeah, because I think that I'm a strong believer that a lot of things should be done as a team, and of course everybody's going to have different viewpoints and all of that, but I think that it's best to do for the residents. That's why everybody is here, is to support the community. So, yeah, I feel that I could very well handle that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jen? Shelley?
Hi. I'm the treasurer. The treasurer and the clerk work close together, although we have our separate duties.
Okay.
The clerk's job is a very demanding job. There are a lot of different avenues that can, at any point in time, come in to play. Can you give me an example of how you would multitask and how you would work under pressure?
Basically, I multitask daily now. Things are constantly changing very quickly within the environment that I'm in right now, the work environment. So I feel that I'm able to shift modes. I also feel that I carry your organizational skills and put things for myself personally in timelines for what has to be done. And I'm the type of person that everything would pretty much have to be cleared off the top of my desk before I went home at the end of the day.
Okay. A major part of the clerk's statutory duties are elections and part of the accounting process. And I understand you have some accounting experience.
Right.
Do you have any education in accounting experience, or is it just based on your experience you were able to pick it up by doing it?
I have experience from prior, one of my prior jobs where I worked for a title company, so I'm very familiar with taxes and plat maps and all that stuff that comes along with it. So I do have education in that field. So actually, I'm further extending my education with business administration, but I am one to course what I've done. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. This is just to me. What direction would you like to see the township go in?
Positive one, for sure. One to where I think where the residents are a little more happier with the township and where things are more present with them so they can see what's going on and not based on speculation or hearsay. I think it's really important to follow the rules. That's why they're here. We're here, and why they're in place, I guess I should say. I work with students that right now that are like, they hate the word no. They hate to be told what to do. They feel they're almost adults and that kind of thing.
Yes, I believe I should be able to accomplish my duties as stated through the state, through our policy and procedure manuals, regardless of pressure from the board or from residents.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Shelley?
I think my first question was, the clerk's office is a very demanding office at times. Elections to prepare, we work close together as the treasurer and the clerk, although we have separate statutory duties. Could you give me an example of your experience or your ability to multitask and do that under pressure?
At one point in my life, I was a regional commissioner for soccer. So we have to have orders for uniforms put in. There's a timeline for that because games have to start at a certain time. We have to have a budget ready for nationals. Those are multitasking. Multitasking is an everyday thing. I run by list. I'm a list maker. So, and if I have help, there's delegation, and I think we would work well together.
And my second one was, being the treasurer, the accounting experience, education. Governmental accounting is a very complex, very strictly mandated type of accounting. Do you have any experience in accounting? Do you have any education in accounting?
As I stated previously, I have an associate's in marketing management. Also, I was the treasurer for the sports complex for many, many years. We had a budget together and we dealt with the 3 entities that worked up there. I also was commissioner, again, as we did budgets for the league, budgets for our nationals. They all needed to have all that information on a timely basis.
Thank you, Shelley. And what direction would you like to see the township go in?
I would definitely like to see the township go in a more positive direction and grow.
And are you available to start on?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I guess that will conclude that. Thank you, Julie. Entertain a motion this time.
I'll make a motion.
All right.
Make a motion that we, I'll make a motion to appoint Julie Tack as the township clerk at Thetford Township.
Okay. I'll second that motion. We'll take a roll call vote. Are there any questions? Anyone? No? Would you do the roll call vote for us, Lauren?
Eric?
Yes.
John?
No.
Sorry, I'm trying to minute and do this. Gary?
Yes.
Shelley?
No.
Rachel?
No.
And Stan?
Yes.
It's part of lines.
I guess we'll have to move on to public comments.
Is it time for public comment? Oh, I can't wait. I would like to thank all the board members for doing this. It wasn't very easy. There's a board member that I feel asked the best questions that I didn't agree with, but he did ask the best questions. Sitting next to Mr. Gunnels, that's all I'll say, and he did the best job out of everyone on that panel with the questions. Having said that, I am disappointed. Once again, we're at an impasse with this board, and if I understand this right, the board works for us. We pay their salary, ask them to do a job, and there's still an impasse here. And now it looks like we have two sides on this board. And I thought we interviewed candidates and they said we wanted to work together and they would be positive, they would do this, that, and the other, but this board didn't do that. And I'm just disappointed that we're paying people and we want people that are gonna work together and be together and do what they're supposed to do, but our own board can't even come together on somebody being appointed for a job. So having said that, I'm really disappointed. There were a couple of you individuals that I allowed the posting of your candidacy on my farm that will not be, your signs will not be. I cannot support anyone who will not work together. And I would urge all residents to think again about, now we know where everybody stands in this township. We're clearly divided and something's gonna have to break loose. Thank you.
You done?
Thank you for the consideration that all 6 of you took in this interview process and this appointing process. I'm of the other opinion that I think each and every one of you has a valid reason for voting for the person you're voting for. It shouldn't be about getting along. It should be about how you feel, who you feel is most qualified to represent the entire township. The chips will fall where they may on these sides. I hopefully, possibly, either one of them would be put in and it may pull the board together. But, you know, I'm just sorry about the threats of you're not going to be able to put your campaign signs up. I'm sure none of you are going to complain if you can't put a campaign sign on a yard where the resident has moved out of our township and the clerk's department has gotten a change of address. So the gentleman's not even a resident here. He doesn't vote here anyway, so.
Really?
Good job, you guys.
Please don't attack.
Good job, you guys, doing what you're doing. Thank you.
My name is Anita Smith and I live on Lewis Road in Thetford Township. I'm not sure if there's a typo on your agenda. It says that public comments as it relates to the agenda items only. Typically, this is the portion of the meeting where we are allowed to comment on things that are not on the agenda. So I'm not sure if that's a typo, so if I'm violating policy, I'm sorry. But I would like to ask about the purchase for the grant, the $2,000 that was spent at what was said was picnics, but it wasn't picnics in Thetford Township, it was picnics in Oakland Township, or Oakland County, and I would like to know why that was not discussed at the board meeting the Monday when there could have been transparency. I don't care where we bought the trees, it's not because we got them at picnics. My concern is, once again, we're not being transparent. I have asked the board to be honest and be open about things. That is what the expectations are. And if the board cannot hold our supervisor accountable to be transparent, I will not be voting when re-election time comes for anyone on that board that cannot make the supervisor follow policies and procedures. If the policy and procedure is mundane and is outdated, then change the policy. I don't care about LESO, I don't care about the $2,600 audit, and I don't care about the $1,300 tow bill. Those are all things that happened in the past. Let's move forward and start following the policy going forward. And the fact that you're looking down, being disinterested in what I have to say is a perfect example of why the residents feel that we need a change in this community. It is ridiculous that we come to those meetings, ask questions, follow policies. You don't answer our questions. You say this isn't a time for questions, although your policy and procedures, and I cite it every time I come, says this is the time to ask the questions and get answers. The fact that the supervisor lies to another member on the board and says he doesn't know that it was $350 to remove the stuff when the previous meeting it was discussed is a slap in the face to these residents that sit at this meeting. Mr. Condon asked him why he did that, and he said he didn't know. Mr. Condon was not at that meeting. All you other members were, and you should have said, yes, Gary, you did know, because Anita Smith, the resident, asked, Why would we take $350 that cost the police fund and put the $350 from the sale into the general fund? And I was told by the supervisor he did not have to answer my question. I could come and talk to him in the privacy of his own office. This is an open forum for us residents to know what's going on. And I will continue to ask these questions.
Thank you.
And I will continue to expect an answer in writing as your policy and procedures state you will do.
Thank you.
Richard Russell, Thetford Township, Lake Road. It was interesting watching this process. You did that in front of the people here in the meeting, and it gave us some insight into it. But there's one question I didn't hear asked. One question that is going to be very, very important to everybody in the township, whether they come to these meetings or not. To my understanding, the clerk of our township runs the elections. The clerk of our township, in order to run our elections, has to be licensed by the state. Nobody asked any of these candidates about being licensed. So apparently this board doesn't care about our ability to be able to vote. I would have thought that you would have asked those candidates first if they were licensed. And if they're not, because we're what, I think 48 days from the election, they have to be licensed 45 days before the election in order to be legal. Think about it, people.
Is that it? Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to board member comments. Stan?
Well, thanks for coming. I'm sorry I confused the issue at the beginning. I apologize for that. Thanks for coming in.
Eric?
I'd like to thank everyone for coming. I just want to let everyone know that in 2011, when trustee Jake Barton had passed away, that this board had an opportunity to replace that trustee. And at that time, I came forward and I submitted my application, just like these 6 candidates did tonight. And I did not even receive one vote from any one of these board members up here. Instead, Mike Chilson was appointed to this board at that time to finish out the term of the trustee. But I ran in 2012 against Mike Chilson, and I won this election position. So I just want everyone to understand that although the process by appointing someone new is difficult, and apparently we're going to have to do it again and again and again and again until we get it right. But just bear with us, because this is a complex process. It's not just so easy. I would like to thank everyone again for coming out and giving us your patience. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. John?
Yeah, I want to thank all the candidates that applied, and you know, and we talk about, you know, something that's close to your heart of the Constitution. This is it. This is the process.
Right.
You know, no one should be bullied to make a choice they don't want to do. They should make a choice they think is right. And I think that's what happened here. Ideally not perfect, but we'll get through it. But that's what we all want to be. That's why we live here, and that's why we live in this country. So there is choices. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Rachel?
I just want to thank everybody out there. It was a very hard decision for me to make tonight on even placing my 2 candidates, just so everyone's aware. But I do want to look out for the best that I can for this township and for you guys. It might take us a minute to get through it, but I hope that we do put the right person in place. I feel like I was a little bit rushed to make a decision. I wish we could have taken a little bit more time and received a few more applications on top of that, but I hope everybody has a good night and drive safe.
Thank you, Rachel. Shelley?
First of all, I want to thank all of the candidates that applied. This is the 3rd time since I've served as treasurer in this township that the board's had to appoint a clerk. being the treasurer and working in the office for those 4 terms, going on 4 terms, I know that the clerk's job is a very detailed, very demanding job. It's not just one thing. And so therefore, when I looked at the applications and things, my decision and my choices, while it was very hard, I tried to choose the people that I thought had the most experience that would lead them and make it a transition that we could work with. It's nothing against any of the other candidates. You're all very nice people, very, probably will do a very good job. But I want to thank you all for applying. It takes a lot to apply for a job like that. So I hope at some point in time we can come to an agreement on the clerk's job. And as far as the elections, the reason why I didn't ask that question is because I had looked and it really wasn't fair to all the candidates. I know it's a very important thing, but there was really only one candidate that had the extensive experience and certification in elections. So that's why that wasn't part of my question. I'm more worried about, the accounting aspects of it. I know how detailed that is. I know how difficult it is. So anyway, that's just a little explanation on how I made my choices, and I appreciate each and every person that tried it. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. I will second what Shelley said. I appreciate all the candidates, and I've never asked anyone to come into my office to talk to me. I said, come into the lobby, I will speak and answer any question you have. And if you want it in writing, I will do it that way. But as far as to keep slandering me at every meeting, I'm getting real tired of it. The backstabbing has been enormous for the last 2 years, and I hope that will stop someday. So everyone have a good night, and thank you for all your comments.